Nottinghamshire Police is the only force outside the capital to have a dedicated knife crime unit.
When you tell someone, oh, you don't want to do this life, you don't want to do this life, that won't work. You know, it goes through one ear and comes out the other kind of thing. Yeah. You got to kind of instill something, give someone hope.
I have had students that have been arrested and injured for machete attacks. What can we do that is positive around knife crime? How can we give a different ending to the story? Wouldn't it be great to see a story in the press that talks about a young person saved a victim of knife crime and actually then gave some real positivity to the idea that young people can make a difference? It might not be in the way that we originally thought about, but actually, isn't this even better?
We've managed change in a dynamic environment by changing our project from looking at reducing knife crime culture to instead focusing on the concept of saving a life, and we were advised to do this through our conversations with students at Stone Soup Academy.
Do you think if people did know how to do first aid properly, would they have
a lot of people, I would say, everyone knew how to do it. In most cases, I guess, someone would do first aid because, you know, if someone gets stabbed, normally the guy that stabbed him is not just going to stand there, is it? He's trying to go away to not get arrested, obviously. So you put all of us in one area, you get stabbed, and all of us know how. He might run, he might run, he might run, and I might know how to do it. We all know how to do it, but these lot might run just thinking, oh shit, well, then I come to you and I know how to do it. And that's a life saved, so.
Very few people know that in order to stop the bleeding from a knife wound, you would need a bleed kit. A first aid kit's bandages wouldn't stop the bleed. One of our partners, Zoe Cook, lost her son to knife crime in July 2021, and he was only 22 years old. Ever since then, she's been fundraising to place bleed kits around Nottingham. She has a Facebook page where she posts the locations of these, but it's not always updated and people don't know about the page. So our intervention is to raise awareness of this, and particularly within schools and young students that could be around a knife crime. We found that it takes 5 minutes to bleed from a knife wound, but typically an ambulance would take 8 minutes to arrive. And we also found that the East Midlands Ambulance Service has been unable to hit targets for the 6th year running. Our biggest challenge was to find a way to teach these young students about bleed kits, where they could find them and why they're important in a way that they would remember. And so we thought about VR. One student would put the VR headset on, and with the help of 3 students on the outside, they'd all have to solve puzzles to find the location of a bleed kit in Nottingham City Centre. So what the student inside the game will see is a map of the city centre at their feet in 3D. The closer that the student inside the game pins the location of the bleed kit, the more they score, and that way we can track our impact and we can measure it.
When we talked to the wonderful staff at Queen's Medical Centre, they very clearly said they wanted young people to understand there is no safe length of blade and there is no safe place to be stabbed. But actually, in teaching them about first aid, you start to teach them about what a knife will actually do to a body when it penetrates a body. So it could be a deterrent because they are aware of the impact that that knife is going to have.
When we would visit schools, we would first start off telling them what a bleed kit is, and then the VR game would show them where to find them. And then after that, with the support of NTU paramedic science students, we would teach them how to use a bleed kit. Our plan for the VR program is to give that to the Python Club, our longtime partners. They are a grassroots organization and they deliver hundreds of sessions to young people every year.
I can see that with our support, this Enactus NTU program will change lives. It will save lives. And right now, we need to be doing that. We need to be coming together and working together as a team. The longevity of it. The Python Club work in schools, academies, primaries, across the city and the county. And these type of initiatives will be able to be embedded into these kind of educational institutions.
We had conversations with young people that were part of the Python Club, and we found out that more than half of them had been affected by knife crime or had a loved one affected by knife crime. 70% of them said that they feared for their lives or their families' lives, and 28% of them said they felt this way before their 14th birthday. So keeping in mind that there are 10 times as many students as there are paramedics, can you imagine the impact that we could make by giving the project to the Python Club and letting them take our VR game into schools. We plan to raise further awareness by possibly advertising within bus stands and doing city and country-wide awareness campaigns. We are also hoping to raise public awareness of bleed kits by putting the bleed kits on Google Maps. We've actually already done that and we're waiting for approval from Google. We also thought that we could further amplify Zoe's impact by working in parallel with her Facebook group and posting the bleed kit locations in a special Instagram account that we would run.
We can take knife crime, this big scary issue, we can wrap it up in life-saving skills and what it means to save a life, change the narrative, and by doing that, can we alter the self-perception of these young people? Can we make them think, I have the ability to save a life? And if we can change that self-perception just a tiny bit and start talking about community and what it means to save a life, then what will that do to knife crime as an issue?
That might save one of our young people's lives, or might save the life of somebody that they're very close to, or in fact, a stranger. So this project has sustainability written all over it. It has scaling up written all over it, because this is something that isn't just about Nottingham and what happens in Nottingham. This is a project that students can be involved in across the country, could even go international, because anywhere where there is issues of knife crime and violence, the idea of being able to deal with that at the moment and the point at which it happens can only be fantastic.
Mrs Oakes was a Year 2 teacher. Of course, the more you read to a child, the more they take in, so they can be inspired to write for themselves. And that was her legacy.
That really shouldn't be where the story ended. I thought there was an opportunity really to give something back to the school in Mrs Oakes' name. But it's also because it's one of the most deprived schools in Nottingham, and in Nottingham City alone we are one of the most deprived areas in the whole country. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could go back to these children in this deprived school and enthuse them about reading and about writing stories again?
We believe that there's a lack of sustainability-led initiatives within schools, and particularly primary schools. And through our conversations with people from Engineers Without Borders, we found the same thing, that there are head teachers that believe that their students could have greater sustainability-led education.
We got to talk to students from Denogli Australia Academy, and we found out that the current narrative around climate change is that these students genuinely believe that the world will be burning when they grow up.
We went in and we told the children about world problems, and we read a story about the Sustainable Development Goals, and we also talked about the idea of a superhero and what a superhero is and what it looked like.
So we created a project that worked around the children about their thoughts about these issues by making them write a story about a superhero. They wrote the pages, they made the drawings and everything, and at the end, once that work was finalized, we made it a real book and we showed it to them.
By encouraging the children to write about a superhero character, we allowed them to almost reflect themselves onto that character and remove any sort of doubts that they could have had about what they would look like as a superhero. It was more about what they had the potential to be.
Then you're going to get to see your story as a book in the flesh. You get told it.
Wait, what? So they've been covered, aged,
real cover, real pages, and they're going to belong to you. We're going to give them back to you today. You get to see that.
Oh my god, I can show my mum and dad.
Yes.
And for somebody to step forward and say to them, your stories are important, your creativity is important, helps them to think about themselves in a different way and think about their opportunities going forward. But we've gone a stage further as well, because our children are living in a modern world. So we've animated them, and we're going to be able to show the children an animated version of the stories that they wrote too.
He realised that plastic pollution is a massive problem.
So he stirred up an idea. He would cook up some delicious treats and deliver them to people who need it most.
Tabby had an idea. He would make a robot to count the world.
The net caught all the pollution in the town.
The machine was ready and it was put to work and worked amazingly.
The net was an international success, and Tabby Cat was known as a legend.
Originally, we started off with Mrs Oakes Sustainable Storytelling Club and another project called Bright Greens, and they both had similar interventions, but one with a greater focus on sustainability and the other more on creativity.
So this is where we want to talk to the students about like the science side of it as well. So we chose to talk to them about vertical farming.
And it actually worked because the kids were very surprised by the pictures that we showed them, and they were mind blown by the integration of plants in the city and very futuristic ideas that stems a lot of the creativity.
Through intervention sessions with Enactus UK, we were told that it would strengthen both projects to just combine them.
One word.
Exciting.
Just fascinating, really.
Oh, this is really hard.
Downright fantastic. It's amazing.
Extraordinary.
It's a good word.
I felt that the biggest impact we were creating on the students was that we spoke to them individually.
I get to share my ideas and write on a piece of paper and know that other people can see it too. I'm more confident in writing and showing it to people, and it can help me write stories.
So imagine what we could do by taking the impact that we were able to make on 7 children and take that worldwide. We are planning on publishing the children's books and selling them in charity bookstores in Lace Market, which is an area in the Nottingham city centre with lots of charity shops. We're also planning on launching the project in a teacher training platform that would take Moss Club and Bright Greens global.
We at the moment have 3 different platforms that we could launch the project on. We would partner up with the company and they would launch the project for us, and then it would be replicated and resold across either the UK or also internationally. Ideally, what we aim to achieve is making the sustainability and creativity teaching more mainstream and rolling this out into more schools both nationally and internationally as well.
That way, this would extend the reach of our impact, and we could raise the self-esteem and empower and inspire more children. What if one of these kids was going to be the one to solve a really big world problem? And we could do that through Moss Club.
I've never had a book done and made like this. It's amazing.